Hi, I'm Pat. Welcome to Passion of the Geeks Unplugged. Usually Greg and I talk about geek and pop culture and everything else we enjoy. But sometimes there are things that only one of us is an expert in. This is what Passion of the Geeks Unplugged is for. Shorter, unedited, straight to the point, unplugged. So let's not lose any time. This week I want to talk about one of my favorite point-and-click adventure games, LOOM. Released in 1990, in the midst of a big reorganization of Lucas companies, where good old Lucasfilm Games was renamed to LucasArts, LOOM was their fifth adventure game, and the fourth one, using their famous Scum engine they had introduced with Maniac Mansion. By that time, Lucasfilm Games already had quite the reputation as an adventure game company. All of their previous adventures, The Labyrinth, Maniac Mansion, Zack McCracken and the Alien Mindbenders, and, of course, Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, had been quite successful, loved by both critics and audience. LOOM had big shoes to fill, but with Brian Moriarty, the designer who had created legendary Infocom adventure games, Wishbringer, Beyond Zork, and, of course, Trinity, Lucasfilm Games had a very promising leading man. And he and his team delivered what I would consider one of the best fairy tales ever brought to a computer screen. It begins with the words, "It was long after the passing of the second shadow, when dragons ruled the twilight sky, and the stars were bright and numerous, that humankind once again thirsted for dominion over nature." The story is set in a distant future where mankind is divided into guilds, communities and states comprised of people united by a common trade. And one of these guilds is the Guild of the Weavers. They had achieved such mastery in their trade that they discovered the secret of weaving the very fabric of reality, magic. The player takes the part of Bobbin Threadbare, a young member of the Guild of Weavers. He is an outcast from the guild and blamed for the misfortune in recent times, though he does not know why. This is told in the wonderful audio drama included on an audio cassette with the game. It tells us that the elders of the guild want to banish Bobbin from the mortal realm, as they did his mother many years ago. But before that happens, his mother returns in the form of a swan and rescues him by transcending the entire rest of the guild into swans as well. Now alone, Bobbin tries to follow the flock of swans, but not before acquiring the elder's distaff that allows him, with a little practice, to cast spells or drafts to alter the world around him. And here is where the game differs from Lucasfilm Games' previous adventures, and actually from basically all adventure games that came before. While you can examine and sometimes even interact with items in the world, you can't take them or combine them. There is no inventory. There are no puzzles in the traditional sense. Only by finding and casting drafts that consists of 4 nodes can the player interact with its environment. The most a puzzle takes from you is that sometimes you need to reverse a draft, which essentially means playing the 4 nodes backwards. It's a very linear journey through the game and its story. And it was the first Lucasfilm Games adventure to fully embrace their new design philosophies, where the player should not be able to die, get into unwinnable situations, or fail the game in any other way. And you can't. You cannot die, you cannot get stuck, you can always go back if you missed a draft. You cannot fail in any way. In fact, nowadays you would probably say that LOOM is a very early form of an interactive experience, similar to a modern walking simulator, where exploration and the enjoyment of the story is combined with some alibi gameplay. And that works splendidly in LOOM. Even through the limited gameplay, the bond you create between player and Bobbin is so much stronger than if you just consume the story by reading or watching a movie. But the world of 1990 wasn't ready for this kind of experience. And, well, I think you can't really blame them. If you just bought an $80 game and you finish it in your first sitting in under 3 hours, well, I'm not one to calculate a game's worth in hours per dollar, but I agree that this was very disappointing. Even though it's such a wonderful story and it was presented in such a wonderful way. The 16-color EGA graphics look awesome and emulated with its style the look of tapestries. It fit perfectly. It's something the later 256-color VGA version with all its gradients just wasn't able to. And the music. Oh, the music. Brian Moriarty had decided to not create original music for the game, but to use Tchaikovsky's famous ballet Swan Lake. And with a later update of the game, you could listen to the music through the Roland MT32 synthesizer, which I had, and it made the music sound really, really grand. Using Tchaikovsky's music was a brilliant decision, as the music fits thematically very well, and his style is just perfect for this wonderful and melancholic story. The truth is, the music touched me in a way very few games managed to do, and rekindled my love for classical music. In fact, LOOM was the reason I got interested in Tchaikovsky's ballets, especially, of course, Swan Lake. And it made a young teenage metalhead appreciate and adore it. There was, among other re-releases, a PC CD-ROM version that changed the MIDI music to an orchestral score and added really good voice acting. But since they decided to add it as a CD audio track, they had to quite significantly cut some of the dialogue and some smaller scenes entirely. Still, LOOM is, in any edition, a wonderful experience. An almost perfect introduction into point-and-click adventure games, an excellent game for beginners and children, and a superbly crafted, bittersweet fairy tale. Both the story and the music of LOOM managed to touch me very deeply. And even if the game does not manage to succeed as a real adventure game, I would not want to miss the experience of this masterpiece. So, this is it for this week. This was Passion of the Geeks Unplugged. Please like, share and subscribe to this podcast. We're on all major podcasting services and on www.passionofthegeeks.com. You can send questions and suggestions to passionofthegeeks@gmail.com, and you can find us on Twitter at PassionOTGeeks. Take care.